20 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is WEFM 99.9. It's time for solutions right here on our blessed day. It rained and rained this morning. In fact, since last evening, and that is a blessing indeed. It was becoming very, very dry as the dry season begins to set in. So good morning. Those of you who are driving along, take it easy on the road. They will be a little wet and slick this morning, so exercise caution. All right? Good. Now, sometimes the way people respond, some respond with emotions, some respond with alarm, some are responding with concern. But by and large, it looks as if emotional responses are the order of the day. Now, the Ministry of Health declared that there are no cases of coronavirus in this country. No cases. The quarantine is out of the abundance of caution. And so far into the quarantine, they have not discovered anything that will declare that we have a crisis and we have a problem. Okay? Flu-like symptoms, just like a few years ago, when a Nigerian student exhibited flu-like symptoms at the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital, sending staff into panic because at that time there was a global pandemic of Ebola. Here we are again in a similar situation. Listen to the opposition leader yesterday declared that we need to do this and that, and to some extent he is right, that the information will put people's minds at ease. But I just hear people say, think outside the box and all them kind of thing. I don't have no box. I allow my mind to soak up all the information and allow my mind to process it. And one of the things to do while you're processing things is to shut up. Digest the information, understand the information, do some research, look into it, and begin to make sense of the whole thing. I will tell you the truth. This region is a low-risk region for the coronavirus. That has been declared by the WHO, the World Health Organization. It doesn't mean that we don't have to be cautious. It doesn't mean that we don't have to put things in place. I will hear the officials declare that we want to build a facility in the event that we have to quarantine people so that we remove them from their homes. If we remove them from their homes, it means that the neighbors can feel a little safer. Because in people's minds, they're like, right next door, boy, that don't sit well with me. But it is what it is. And then to hear the subsequent alarm about the story surrounding the WEFM Health Center, I like, have to just laugh, you know. But while all this is happening, and we hear people calling about and talking about what we should do to protect ourselves from outbreaks that are external, I wish that we could use that same energy into protecting ourselves from outbreaks that are internal. The Vincentian public is at risk. Serious risk. And the very same Ministry of Health that you are calling upon to do something about a virus that have nothing to do with us. And I'm hearing about people trying to ban travel and all kind of thing. I mean, it's one thing to call Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and the ULP administration dictators and then demand that they do things that dictators do. Like in South Korea, they shoot the man, A man who broke the quarantine was shot. Imagine that? Yes, that's what dictatorship is about. Citizens cannot travel unless they get a stamp of approval. In this country, you could decide you can book a flight online. You don't have to get a letter from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to say, can I leave? And you're authorized to leave. You can just leave. And then you end up in China. Now on your way back, as a Vincentian, the whole of a Vincentian passport, what are they going to do? Tell you go back to China? Sometimes we don't engage our thinking caps, we don't engage our minds. But it's all out of fear. And fear-mongering is perhaps the order of the day now, where many people will try to get some mileage or some visibility or some attention from this whole thing. And everybody becomes an expert, and everybody becomes the go-to person or the leading voice. Well, I will trust the Ministry of Health. I will trust the officials. I will trust the word of the WHO. I will look at the protocols and see that, hey, they are adhering to international protocols, international standards. This is how it is done in every other country who have a scare, who have a fear, or who have any suspicion that they might have been traveled to China in the last 14 days. I trust that process. The process is working. Yes, perhaps let people know what is happening. Not that it will change the price of eggs, but perhaps for peace of mind, let them know that this is happening. And I really applaud the idea of a quarantine facility, because it may not sit well with everybody knowing that there is a bunch of people right next door to me, only separated by a fence, that it is suspected that they have this deadly virus. Even though it may not harm you or put you in danger, peace of mind. Peace of mind. But we are not looking at our internal threats. Leptospirosis can kill you. It can kill you. And it seems as if the 9 days talk applies to leptospirosis, because only when we hear someone dying, or perhaps 2 or 3 dying, we say, oh, there's an epidemic on our hands. But we have had that problem on our hands for quite a long time. And we are not getting a handle on it. Quite a long time. I'm not hearing anybody calling on the Ministry of Health for an island-wide eradication exercise where we attack these illegal dumping grounds. They are in our neighborhoods, they are in our communities, and they are breeding rats and cockroaches. Rats do not survive in numbers where there's nothing to eat. We are not launching this eradication exercise. And I shudder to think what is going to happen next rainy season. Luckily, we had a very dry rainy season last time. The first time I heard the concept, I just troops I like with it. Scientists just come up with some concepts. But it held true that we had very, very little rain in the rainy season. Luckily, St. Vincent and the Grenadines got a bit more than the region, but the region suffered some drought conditions. We, however, got some rainfall, and we didn't have to ration water too much. There was some rationing, but not too much. when the rain begins to fall and these dump sites begin to collect water, the threat of dengue, Zika, and chikungunya goes up again 100%. We are not hearing about these eradication exercises that will keep us safer internally. We will hear about fogging, but that is after the horses have bolted. You're basically trying to chase away mosquitoes that are already full grown. And you're probably just shooting at the sky. You ain't sure if you're getting it right or you're getting it wrong, or if you're actually making an impact. What will be more important to me, in my mind, is an eradication exercise that hold households and landowners, property owners, responsible for their property. We'll look at where these illegal dump sites are. We see them in our communities, we see them in our neighborhoods, and we eradicate them. We make sure that we stamp that out, because these are the breeding grounds for rats, cockroaches, and mosquitoes. We need to get doubly aggressive. A school, the Kittel's government school, had to shut down for quite a number of days. Why? Because of rat infestation. Leptospirosis is something that can kill a child. The weak and elderly can kill them. And even a strong, healthy man, it will weaken him to the point where he can die. Leptospirosis is a threat. And the threat goes beyond sometimes what we think about, because there's a practice that the very Ministry of Health said should not happen. People who are doing barbecue and roast pork, they should store their grills in a safe place. They should remove all the food scraps from their grills before they shut down at night. They should not be left by the roadside or outside of buildings. They should be stored properly, cleaned properly, and stored. But do we see that happening? On my way to town, I just passed about 3. And they're just there. You know when one? Well, I know about one. You know when that is clean? Right before they're ready to use it. And the Ministry of Health said that this should not happen. This should not happen. This should not be the case. But we're playing with fire. Because just before we use that grill is when we decide to scrape off the scraps from perhaps a week ago. Could you imagine what on moved through that? Cockroaches, rats, rat droppings and cockroach droppings. These are dangerous things. It's food you're playing with. But do we have people checking these things and saying, this was outside, so we're taking this up? And in fact, if you say you can't take the people thing, at least then charge them for something. Because it is a breach of the Public Health Act. I'm not even going to talk again about that health certificate that you ought to have when you're selling food for public consumption. I'm not going to talk about that again. Because that food handler certificate, I don't see it being displayed in a lot of places. By the van that we have parked up in town selling food outside of it without running water, I see these things on a daily basis. E. coli, salmonella, all these things can cause havoc for the health system of people. They are foodborne, they are food-based. We hear all the standards being talked about. You must have food in warmers. You must have food covered. You must have your head covered. You must not touch money when you're serving food. But these are things that we continue to see over and over and over. And it is putting our people at risk. The same energy we are calling on the Ministry of Health to protect us from external shocks. Let's apply it to the things that can kill us internally. Dengue, Zika, chikungunya, leptospirosis. These are things that we are at risk for on a daily basis. But we don't think about them. The parasites that are found in pork. An official alerted me to the amount of parasites that they are seeing in stool tests that are passing through the hospital laboratory. When the doctor orders a stool test because somebody is sick, so they're running some test. In all these stools, they are found in the parasites from pork. And the parasites is alive because pork is undercooked and not prepared properly. We're not launching the investigations. We're not putting out the bulletins. We're not putting out the warnings. We are not protecting our people from these things. Yes, coronavirus is scary. Yes, it is becoming a global pandemic. And you know the funny thing is? When it is controlled like Ebola, when it is controlled like SARS, when it is controlled like bird flu, when it is controlled like mad cow disease, we'll go back to normal, doing exactly what we do every day. We'll just go right back to thinking that we are safe. We'll go back to thinking that we can continue to live the way we are. And then we'll have cockroaches infestation all over. Children are going to school every morning and seeing rat droppings. It's a dangerous thing. Rat droppings, rat urine, cockroach droppings. I mean, we are putting ourselves at risk. God forbid there's an outbreak of anything here. Because then our health system will be tested. I hear people declare that we are not ready for any of this. In fact, the world is not ready for none of that. Don't assume that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is doing anything different than what is done in the United States. The States is not ready for that. Trinidad not ready for that. Jamaica not ready for that. None of the bigger islands in this region is ready for any coronavirus outbreak. Nobody is ready. So don't act as if we're supposed to be special. We can only do what the rest of the world is doing. Observing, monitoring, testing. And out of the abundance of caution, they will quarantine. But we can put our hands on some things here in this country that needs some serious attention. Some serious attention. You know what I think? We go on as if we consume a lot of things here that can kill us, that can put us at serious risk. What are we doing? What are we doing? Let's get the small things right.